Hey everybody, welcome to the 77 group channel here on YouTube. My name is Mitch Goddard, and today we're going to talk about leadership. And whether you like it or not, leaders, all eyes are on you. So it's important to get mentally prepared and be ready to be the person that's out in front of your team, because you don't necessarily need to record high marks on the charisma dynamic scorecard. But you do need to be dynamic enough to get and hold the attention of the people that you are looking to lead or influence. So today we're going to talk about that a little bit here on the 77 group channel. And with that, let's turn it over to my partner, Frank, for an overview.
Thank you, Mitch, and hello, everybody, wherever you may be, and welcome to episode number 16 of the 77 Group's YouTube channel. Just a couple introductory remarks. A reminder again that what we're basically doing with the channel is every week alternating from my book that's already out to Mitch's book, which is being completed at the present time, taking one chapter of our 77 chapters per book each week. Going over it is something that if you have the book, it's all the better to experience the YouTube channel activities. If you don't, you can still get an awful lot out of it. So either way, it can work fine. My book, again, is, and you can sort of see it beyond Mitch's shoulder. Mitch, you want to see it?
Take a look at that, huh?
And you come back to me, and then I have a nice little copy here in my, there it is, right there. In any event, mine is called 77 Ways to Perfect Your Communication Skills, Enhancing Your Personal and Professional Relationships. And Mitch's book, very companionish, although on a different topic, is 77 Principles, Tips, and Takeaways for Exceptional Leaders. And we hope that over time there'll be good companion documents for people to have, not only as a pleasure to read through from cover to cover, but also as two ongoing resources as you move forward both personally and professionally in your lives. A couple other reminders. Each week we provide a response to one question that came in from one of our viewers, and we encourage everybody to submit a question to us following viewing of this session, either at the comments section following the YouTube presentation or in a direct email to either of us. Mitch's email is mitch@77grp.com, and I am Frank at 77grp.com. And then finally, please subscribe if you haven't already. We doing real well. We're up to 300 or 400 subscribers, somewhere in that vicinity. So that's gotten off to a hefty start. And like us if you can. We do notice that and appreciate it. And again, leave your comments. So let me turn it back to Mitch to talk about today's topic.
Hey, thanks, Frank. Great intro as always. And today, on the topic of leadership, we want to spend some time examining, or at least sharing some tips as to why it's important for leaders to get comfortable with being out in front. And I can share a real quick story. A time way back when, mid-1970s, I was in high school, and leading up to my senior year, and I was on the varsity football team. My teammates, bless their hearts, voted me to be their team captain. Quite an honor, fed my ego, and was a little revealing as to what I didn't know about what it takes to be a leader. And you know, there's so much more that goes with you know, heading out to midfield before the game and guess at what the coin toss is going to be to see who gets the ball first, because there's a lot of interaction, a lot of responsibilities that go with that required me to be the person out in front, whether I was giving direction, whether I was giving praise, sharing information, delivering, you know, good or bad news. Either way, the team as well as some of the coaching staff, were looking to me to be the person leading the charge out in front, saying, "Let's go, guys." And it was really a shock to my system. And it wasn't until much later that I, somewhat exasperated, I went and sought some counsel with my lifelong best all-time counselor, my father, who's sadly no longer with us. But the impact he's had on my life, not only personally, but as a leader, has been remarkable, and continues to this day. And the main message that he gave me during this time when I was in high school, a high school football player, he said, "Son, if they see you fidget, if they see you look nervous, if they see you look lacking confidence, and like you don't belong out in front, your opportunity to seize their attention and to gain their confidence is going to be lost likely forever. So you're going to have to overcome this and find a way to get comfortable being out in front of people." And with that, I think it's a good time for us to just go ahead and launch in to my 5 tips this week on why it's important for leaders to get comfortable being out in front. And tip number 1 is, and again, these 5 tips are the way I see it. I guess if you put any leaders into a room and they had 5 tips on this topic, they might be a little different. But I think these are going to be good, useful, and practical tips for our viewers to put into motion. Tip number 1 is be aware people are watching. And so, first of all, know how you present yourself. And then with that, know what's going on around you. Know the condition of the people you're leading. Know the temperature of your group. As you look to lead or provide some kind of influence, it's good to know, what the lay of the land is with the personalities involved. Are there little pockets of tension? And this type of intelligence or this type of information, it helps you become more effective from your position as you stand in front of your team, or as you seek to influence others with your thoughts, your opinions, or so on. And I think history tells us that most of our effective leaders led from the front in some measure, and in either in a physical way or in a thoughtful way, out in front saying, "Follow me. This is the way we're going to get up that hill." Because being out in front is one of the best ways to earn that street cred, that credibility that your team, your people, or the people who look to you and find you an influential figure will say, "Yep, this person's credible. I want to lean in and listen to more of what they're saying."
Mitch, what really jumped out at me as you were saying that, and several of the points you made jumped out at me, is how critical it is for a leader to get some sort of feedback, whether it's formal or informal feedback from those they are trying to lead regarding how effective their leadership is. What do you have to say on that topic? How do you evaluate, either subtly from observation or in a more formal sense, if your leadership style is resonating?
Well, great question. I think there are a number of ways to gauge how your style of leadership, what you present as you're out in front of your people, your team, or as you're providing some information in whatever platform. A number of ways to tell. One-on-one or in a group setting, look at the body language. Look at the expressions on the faces of the people that you're out in front of. There's so much to be said about the unspoken language, body language, and so on, I think another way, you can tell if they're uncomfortable, if they're confused, if they are agreeing with what you have to say, if they're on board or if they're not on board. So that's the first thing that comes to mind. Another very simple and easy way to engage is to just ask a question. Something simple like, does that make sense to you, to everybody? Or does anybody have any questions? Or what are your thoughts on this? Getting that kind of feedback. Any leader with any measure of success will tell you that, all the great thinking didn't go on up here. It's a collective of the people around you. So when you initiate them by asking their thoughts, getting their feedback, what's your opinion on this? What do you think about it? Does this make sense to you? That's the kind of stuff that helps you get to a place collectively where everybody's on board and the thing's moving forward.
I sort of like the notion of just asking people directly, in your mind, what do you think it takes to be a great leader? I think that could help in a lot of ways. One is it lets you know what those people you are trying to lead are really looking for and allows you to feel if you're measuring up to it at the present time. Plus, there's no limit on wisdom of other people. None of us are know-it-all.
Yep.
And the more people you ask that question, the more kernels of wisdom you're going to get about being a good leader yourself. So I think that's a good parlor game. Plus, if you're a good leader, simply asking somebody for their opinion is showing the degree of humility that it's so very important in being a good leader in the first place, that you're not a know-it-all. You're as interested in their opinion as you are in your own hubris.
Yep, absolutely. And again, asking those kinds of questions is kind of getting a sneak peek at a quiz or an exam that you might be preparing for. Because when you get the people who have the answers to those questions to offer those up, it'll help you adjust your style and modify your tactics to achieve the desired outcome, which is basically getting everybody pointed in the same direction, moving forward to achieve whatever the mission or the objectives are.
How about tip number 2, Mitch?
All right, tip number 2 moves right into to your last statement about being humble. And my tip number 2 is be humble and accept that you're not perfect. I know from personal experience, in fact, as I'm writing my book, 77 Principles, Tips, and Takeaways for Exceptional Leadership, I fall into that I have to make this perfect pit, that's hard to climb out of. But accept that we're not perfect, because when we shoot for perfection, we can find ourselves losing traction. Our ability to produce might be compromised. And again, speaking from personal experience, when I do that, when I find myself doing that, where this needs some more tweaking, this needs some more tweaking, another slice might get it just right, or another edit here might have it just right, where at the end of the day, if I just pour out of myself and be myself, sometimes that little bit of imperfection is going to endear you as a leader to those that you are looking to lead or influence.
Okay, well, good. How about tip number 3, Mitch?
All right, moving on. Tip number 3, be careful when managing your own expectations. So those expectations might be, don't expect to get a standing ovation every time you stand in front of people. Don't expect to be the object of their, affection, or their, in a non-physical way, but of their, love and devotion every time you stand up and deliver either direction, comments, provide news and updates, whatever it is. So manage, again, your own personal expectations so that you can just be on point, deliver the message, and get your team back moving forward.
In your personal life and career, what's a prime example of an instance where you had unrealistic expectations and it took a while to get back down to earth?
Well, I think and just to kind of set the stage on that, I think when we put too much pressure on ourselves, and again, I know I've done this, and I talked about the writing of the book. I can't tell you how many times I have gone through and rewritten chapters 1 through 10 before I finally, I think I've gotten to a point, a nice little sweet spot where I'm able to just let it go. And if some things need to be edited, if a comma needs to be added here, or a new paragraph needs to start there, well, let my editors point that out to me. My job is to just share who I am and get that out. When standing in front of groups sometimes, especially for the first time, I know, and this has happened to me, where I think I need to establish all the credibility I'm ever going to need in that first engagement, putting way too much pressure on myself to deliver, the Gettysburg Address or some, rock solid oratory, then I'm usually setting myself up to fail in some measure, and that's happened to me. So I think just avoiding that perfection, the desire to be perfect and just, uneditable, can really, again, make us more natural, make us more comfortable, removes the pressure. And I strongly believe that, our imperfections is what makes us embraceable in many ways.
In my opinion, Mitch, I think it's very useful to go into almost anything with a plan B, and sometimes a plan C, so that you are not looking at your objective as an all or nothing deal.
Right.
That if for whatever reason, maybe way out of your control, you're unsuccessful in your objective, then going in that there's a fallback position and sometimes even a fallback to the fallback. Yep. So you have opportunities to still, if you will, win the contest, even though it may not have been your original objective.
Right. And, those contingencies, and in business, in the military, you name it, there's always a plan to back up your plan, to back up your other plan, and then the ability to adjust on the fly. And just a final comment on being humble, that don't mistake humility or being humble for being weak. Humble is truly a place of strength and a place of confidence, and your people will sense that as you move forward.
Agree. I think oftentimes the exact opposite of it comes across very clearly as a person being insecure, not overly confident.
Amen to that.
False bravado out there.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay, tip number 4.
Okay, so tip number 4, be consistent in what you model as a leader. So, for instance, I spoke in my opening tip number 1, people are watching, so be aware of that. What you model is what you're going to see develop throughout your team, your department, your organization, whatever. So, good manners, good behavior, good timeliness, those types of things, being respectful, putting yourself, second behind others. Those are the kind of things we talk about when we talk about being a good leader, and consistency in all of those characteristics is important. Uh, as a leader, you're going to reap what you sow, and it's all about relationships. If you model good behavior, good respect, good character, and good practices, you're going to see a lot of that develop throughout your organization, and the relationships you build are going to be stronger. And remember, all eyes are on you, so be that good model.
Okay, all good. And finally, tip number 5.
So tip number 5, Frank, is be you. Okay, be you. Don't try to be anybody else. What you, and this kind of, stacks on top of our previous tips today. Be honest, be genuine. Always, when you do that, it always scores high marks. If you try to be anything but you, you might pull it off for a short term, but eventually you'll have to end up being you, and that transition, might confuse people around you. They're going to be looking at each other saying, "So who are we getting today?" And that could really hurt your team, your organization, or the people you're looking to lead and influence. And again, remember, like I said in tip number 4, be consistent in what you model, because people are looking at you nonstop. Every raised eyebrow, every time you raise your voice, your body language, just be you. Comes naturally. It's easy to do. There's no rehearsal necessary, and people will accept you more likely and find you a lot more embraceable that way.
Mitch, what is a common pitfall for not being able to achieve that? Like, out of all the circumstances you've seen people not being able to be themselves, what seems to be the most common thread that you've seen?
Well, if I understand your question correctly, if the pitfall or the consequence, maybe.
Well, what I'm really saying is that, it's sort of a generic thing. Be yourself. Okay, we'll buy that. But when is the average person out there most prone to violate that? What tends to be the most common traps that are out there for people?
Okay, well, I think when they allow themselves to feel unnecessary pressure due to a number of different variables. One might be a lack of preparation, a lack of understanding of who it is they're talking to, who it is they're leading, or who it is they're trying to influence, or say in a job interview, or when they are in front of people that they believe can actually do something for them, enhance their life, enhance their career. They find themselves putting so much pressure on them. I'm pushing all my chips to the center of the table, and I've got to win this hand. And they tend to either exaggerate, overinflate any accomplishments or anything else about themselves in the hopes of winning that moment. And then I'll worry about the consequences later if things go my way on delivering, whether or not I'm able to do that in that moment or not. So I hope that answers your question. I think one of the consequences in doing that is, by and large, people, they sense those dynamics. They can sniff out who's real and who's a faker, and you will destroy any opportunity to build confidence, to build trust, and to build that strong relationship, so that you can provide exceptional leadership or influence moving forward.
Okay, all wonderful stuff. Anything you want to tack on to the end?
Well, let's just go ahead and scroll through the 5 tips this week. And number 1, just remember, be aware, people are watching. Tip number 2, be humble and accept that you're not perfect, and it's okay. Number 3, be careful when managing your own expectations about yourself. Number 4, be consistent in what you model as a leader. And finally, number 5 this week, be you. Be the natural you. That's what you were born to do, is be you. So make it easy on yourself and try not to be somebody else.
Okay, all super good. Thank you very much. Next week, I'm back on as the prime speaker, and it's going to be episode number 17. And the topic is control the meeting. And if it's not part of your life already, the odds are at some point in your life you are going to be vested with the responsibility to chair meetings. And it takes special techniques to do it effectively. So we'll talk about that next week. Reminder again to please subscribe to the YouTube channel, to send in your comments or questions, and to like us. We would appreciate that. Also, a reminder that I'm very, very pleased with, exceptionally pleased with the reception to my book so far. We're at the stage now where it's got in the hands of enough people who have had a chance to write comments about it. And I think it's very, very useful, both as a very fun read to go through from beginning to end, but also long-term reference. And a reminder that, again, it is entitled 77 Ways to Perfect Your Communication Skills, and it's available on our website at www.77grp.com. Mitch, back to you. Any questions you have from a reader?
I do, and also just a real quick thought on your book. You can see a couple of copies of them right there in my office. Again, a great, easy to digest read, and I think as we go through this, we're on our 16th episode today. As with the material Frank presents, just another great example of the crossroad or the intersection of effective communication, effective leadership, why they tie together so well, and I think everybody can really appreciate what we're trying to do here. So, that said, let's dive into our question of the week, and it comes to us from, let me put it up right now. So from episode 12, from chapter 3 of my book, Always Be Respectful, Boss Girl Leslie from Santa Monica, California, sent me a private email to mitch@77grp.com. And she asked the question, again, talking about always being respectful. She says, hey, Mitch, every group has one of those people that are very difficult to deal with. How can I maintain my standard for respect and put people like this in their place? Okay, good question. And just to frame the context here, because you mentioned in your question to how you want to maintain your standard here. So with that in mind, Boss Girl Leslie, first thing, decide if you really want to travel down the road of being aware of all the consequences and any benefits, if there are some out there, of putting someone in their place. Because in most scenarios that I can think of, that kind of goes down a confrontational type road, which we never know really what the outcome is going to be on that. So I would caution, really trying to put somebody in their place. But in the context of maintaining your standard for respect, the first word that comes to mind as I read your question is diplomacy. And maybe some subsets to that is smile. Start with a smile. There's not too many things we can do that are more disarming as just just a welcoming and warm smile. And as you're doing that, I think maybe paying a compliment. For instance, if there's a member of the group that's disrespectful, or there is someone in the workplace or your family, whatever it might be, and they are disrespectful, rude, difficult to be around, it's okay to go ahead and give them a sincere smile. Work that up if you need to, and give them a compliment. For instance, in a workplace scenario, hey, Frank, with a smile on my face, saying, hey, Frank, I really appreciate what you bring to the table and your expertise on communication is so valuable to our discussion today. Help me understand your thoughts on this. And now you have offered a smile, a disarming smile, a very disarming compliment, and you've redirected them back to their purpose in the room for that setting anyway. So artful diplomacy, use a smile, throw out a sincere compliment, and redirect them into their area of expertise, which is the true value of having them in the room. And everybody else in the room is going to know, okay, who's the person that took charge here, and who's the person that, in a very gentle and mild sense, got redirected back on task, and the rude, disrespectful person is put on the shelf, at least for the time being. So great question. Boss Girl Leslie, coming to us from Santa Monica, California. I'll be emailing you back to schedule a time for our phone call. Looking forward to it, Boss Girl Leslie. Thank you so much. And now at this time, we, Frank and I, as our habit, we like to share a final personal thought. And this being my week, I will share the following. And really what it is, and I'm highly confident, based on what I know about my good friend and partner Frank, that he will agree with this. When I offer this tip or thought to say that maintain an open mind, really about everything, because you'll avoid missing opportunities. You'll avoid really putting yourself in a box that is going to limit your growth. Whereas if you maintain an open mind, you now have the opportunity for expanded perspective, leading to expanded knowledge, getting a different perspective that is going to help you grow personally. And you don't know also, if you start shutting yourself down and putting yourself in a box with a closed mind, what relationships out there you're going to miss out on, what career or job opportunities or investment opportunities or whatever opportunities that can manifest out of maintaining an open mind. And at the end of the day, when you do that, it only leads to regrets and maybe some bitterness and resentment. And that place is not a good place to be, because that's really directed toward yourself. And so my advice, my thought this week, maintain an open mind about everything. You never know what you're going to learn. It might be something that be very beneficial and rewarding to you in the long run. Back to you, Frank.
Well stated, Mitch, and thank you very, very much for your thoughtful comments there. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in, not only this week, but if you've been with us for previous episodes as well, thank you. This wouldn't be working very well if nobody tuned in, so we're happy to have you here. And we'll see you next week, and everybody have a wonderful week.
Thanks, everyone. See you next time.